Okay, here's a little one I'm going to do about through the looking glass. And I could probably go 10 different ways on this, and I could try to take you on a journey through the looking glass, if you will. But I'm going to discuss the looking glass itself in many different ways. Some early spoken looking glasses that people were looking at as a polished surface made like a mirror, but quite often it was convex slightly, and so it would give a slightly close-up view of it. And if ladies are listening, and a lot of men are probably aware of this, a lot of times they have a two-sided mirror they go to put on their makeup with. One of them is regular and the other one is kind of focused in off of it, and this focused in effect was called a looking glass at some point. But when you get into it, there was a lot of things called looking glass. In fact, one that surprised me whenever I heard it was I was dealing with a man about an arachnid exhibit whenever I was a kid. I was very much into butterflies there for a while and stuff, and might have turned into that weirdo that had a bug collection, but I didn't. I really just tried to get the multicolored June bugs and certain things, and these butterflies I liked a whole lot, and finding out about them. But that's a little bit of a different story. But looking through his thing, he was like, "Oh, you look how neat they are! Look how neat they are!" He got to a certain point, and he opened it up and told me to look at him, and I leaned down and looked at him, and he started to hand me something. He goes, "No, look through the looking glass," and he gave me something that was quite a bit like a magnifying glass to take a look at them. And it was, what is this? Well, you can take and set them in front of the thing, and then it magnifies them. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's killer. It's like a big old magnifying glass, huh? And he was very stern in the fact that this isn't really a magnifying glass. And magnifying glasses are built a certain way, much like the little dents that are all over the side of this glass. For this is something like a Fanta Coke bottle. And when you're looking through the bottom of a Coke bottle, much like somebody who has Coke bottle glasses in the first place, may have close-up vision, but it's kind of hard to have far-away vision, and you don't know what you're looking at. You don't know right now if you're looking at a mountain in the middle of that thing, an escape, or if you're actually at a beach and you're looking at just a wave and it's magnified in a weird way. But I found through my studies a couple of things that were real conspicuous, and it was deemed as witchcraft. And then with the whole collection of this stuff, and it was about looking glasses, and it was about divination and things that people were doing in ancient times and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is this about? Of course. And I want to try to use it in my Dungeons and Dragons game so I can find something neat that's like, Zoltar, and she comes and says, oh, look through the cards and like some type of tarot deck or something. No, there could be a different way of applying it, and I did so in some way, but it wasn't going to work out right when I found out what it was and what that probably idea was. Conspicuously, I also saw another person on a video that, this was back whenever it was a VHS video, okay? And it wasn't brand new then. It must have been something that was 10 years old recorded, but then on VHS, okay? And what it showed was this guy had made a looking glass, and he was trying to explain early telescopes and things like this that people had used, and concepts of being able to have eagle-eyed vision, and this thing that he had relegated and said, well, this must have been this magic eagle-eyed vision and being able to look afar that they talked about, and what would that have been at the time. And he had a dish, and it was small, I don't know, a Noxzema dish style, hell, I don't know, 2.5, 3 inches across somewhat, but he had poured this fluid into it, and he said it was more viscous, and I think it was oil that he used, like olive oil. But the way that it adhered to the sides and the viscosity of the oil was important because it adhered to the sides and made a little convex, and if you made it too big, it wouldn't really do this. when you get it right to a certain size, it has somewhat of a focus. And so, what the hell did you use that for at all? Well, his example, which was hard for him to show with the old BS cameras and VHS thing that he had here, but it got to a point, he had it out and he was looking down on it, looking back up at the sky, trying to videotape it. And so you can imagine and focus, So he got there and looked at it, and you could tell it didn't really look like it. And then he got the camera and moved it again. It didn't really look like it. And then moved it again, and then all of a sudden oh wow. And what did that look like? Well, it just looked like a slightly close-up version. It looked like you were looking through one binocular. And the guy said that he can get up to like a 6 times magnification off of it and da 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 and everything. And I'm like, okay, this is some Mr. Wizard crap here where the guy's pulling that and everything. So instead of using a convex glass shape, if you will, like the beads on the side of this, he's using the reflective mirror effect off of a liquid, and its viscosity's got it holding to an edge, pretty much making it like that version. So it's got 6 times, but then it was real neat. What he did was he took a magnifying glass and then put the magnifying glass and looked at that, and he goes, see, now you're looking at close up, but then you're looking at real close up. And it's like, well, what the hell what is he talking about? And he took out not a magnifying glass, but a piece of a chip of glass that was shaped like the magnifying glass, but oblong, kind of egg-shaped a little bit, even more pointy, not arrowhead, but kind of. And he held it there and looked at it, and the camera couldn't focus on this in any way, shape, or form. But looking at this closer, it all of a sudden zoomed in. And so he said, if you knew where to look whenever the night sky was slowly going across you, and you had this in the right pace and the right position with all this da-da-da and ancient astronomy knowledge, you could sit and watch what was going on in the heavens at a closer rate. And he believed that this is the reason they came up with the idea of nebula, where we know now that these little blurs, instead of stars that were there, were galaxies. And so, people can have extremely good vision. Whenever I was a kid, I thought I had like bionic vision. Whenever I was a kid, the $6 Million Man was on. And while I could see up close and everything real normal, if I tried to look real far away, I could almost do a zoom effect on it. And I remember there's a fence that was right at 300 yards away from out of our back way, that the person across the way by where the school was and his fence, and we'd figured out that it's right at 300 yards. And as it cuts at an angle from about 270 to a little over 300, but yeah, 300 yards. And I could sit and count the numbers of the fence and the amount of planks that were in there, but also I could even see the knot holes in some of them and so on, and this was that far away. And I mean, and I hit some golf balls over there, went over there and looked at it, and sure enough, I could see that. But amazingly, you can see a golf ball that far away. And a golf ball's got to be a little bitty dot. I mean, it's how many pixels is a golf ball that far away? But you can see it pretty good. But as a kid, I had this little vision that was like that. It was kind of odd, and it faded as I got older. And then I started having my left eye to fail on me, not my right. It kept me from being Top Gun or being able to get into flying, but that's another whole story altogether. But and the fix-it for that is just slight fixes to lenses and stuff. And so this would require glass, but is there any possibility there was some crystals, or maybe some crystals that were in a river that got washed and smoothed out to a point, and people found it and they kept it sacred? Oh, it's neat. They can hold it up like this and look through it. Whenever you do, it may be blurry on the edges, but if you hold it just at the right distance from your eye, which makes importance, you can see real good. And what if you were to add those two together with the way the guy did the dish and gets about the 6 times, 4 times the 6 times magnification, and you say, well, this thing gives you magnification, and so multiply this magnification by that magnification, and you can get an up close look at something. There's another way of looking at this too. It's like a crystal ball. Think of the center of this as being some kind of crystal ball. And in a crystal ball, it has a magnified effect, but it's kind of warped around, right? But you can set something under a crystal ball and then look into it and actually see the image that's inside that. And that was used in a certain way for magic and so on like that, but it can be used in a different way. I always wondered if you could take a crystal ball up to this, that, and the other, and it would planisphere, if you will, looking up at the sky. And ancient astronomers, all the things that they did to see and know the knowledge that they did, well, if you get out far enough away, you can really see the stars so well that it almost intrigues you to the point of knowing, well, these people were like doing that or whatever. Yeah, well, it takes a telescope to see a lot of the things that are somewhat recorded, but that can only do on a dish and gravity and flat and looking down, up reflecting up, and seeing the cosmos. How could you do like this in this video and turn that sideways and look at a distance far, far away? Well, what if somebody had that eagle eye stuff whenever I was a kid, and they had that little glass thing, and they could look through that glass and they could see somebody far away? It was almost like you could see down the street. You know, if you ever played with binoculars whenever you were a kid and had a decent pair of them and zoom in, you can just be way the hell away. Or you can use a glass in another way and be way the hell close up, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids all of a sudden, and you can look through a good magnifying glass at bugs and see, oh my God, they got wicked faces on them, and their eyeballs are multi-eyeballs, and they're aliens from another world. In fact, butterflies are quite odd with their tongue that rolls out. It's very reminiscent of the little curl that comes out of the red crown of Egypt. But butterflies look weird up close, and even looking at a lot of things looks extremely weird up close, and we never knew all these things existed that you would take something like that and look at. And then there's another level below that, isn't there, for it? If you double magnify this, if 6 times 4 and do your thing, you can end up seeing bacteria and germs and things that are unknown. I mean, they're just magic, aren't they? I mean, no one knew they even existed and what the cause was of it. A lot of times they blame things, and well, they blame themselves. They think, well, it happened to me. Well, I got sick. Well, she didn't get sick. Well, she's nice, and I did something wrong. What did I do? Oh, I must have done something, and you know you did something wrong, so here you go. You're going to blame it all on that. Well, I know somebody did a lot worse, and he ain't sick. How's this all work? I'm going to go talk to him. I'll be damned, you know what? He's sick now. How's that work? Well, I think a lot of that was figured out a long time ago. Sicknesses and people kept separate and things like that because of causes and effects, but they weren't too sure. Shamanistic ideas can delay the reality of it all, but in some way they can help you figure it out long term and over time. But hey, what do y'all think? Did they ever have something like that? I mean, if you look at the ancient pyramid of El Elyon, whenever they had that cleared out, they've got this pool in there, and everybody said, oh, it was a sacred pool, there was this, that, and the other. They had it full of that bitumen tar for some stupid reason. Well, was that a black liquid that was real shiny that they can end up looking reflective of the stars? Or what goes on? What goes on? Hey, I wonder, bitumen and stuff, tar, that's got to have a lot more viscosity than regular oil does. Does that help out that lensing effect? Would it be big enough for the... No, it surely couldn't hold the effect to a bathtub. Yeah. I don't know, just strange thoughts through the looking glass, if you will. I thought I'd share with you that one thing where in ancient times they supposedly, and this guy like a little Mr. Wizard pulled this off. I tried to find it. Maybe one of y'all can real easily, but I tried to find. Had I known the guy's name, I might have been able to do it, or even the show that I was watching. I mean, it wasn't In Search Of or one of those, you know, known shows really at the time. And in fact, it was older than that, and some dude just going something about telescopes, and for my best knowledge off of it, it was some dude that was an astronomy geek that was doing it, and he wasn't attaching anything to really the tell of it all. But when we see like Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, she steps through a mirror, doesn't she? Yeah. Like the devil creature does in Legend, where this girl's looking at herself in a mirror and the devil steps through it or whatever. Well, she's looking at herself through the looking glass. Well, I did a video not too long ago about mirrors and the way the people looked and thought about mirrors and the reflection of everything. And because everything's backwards in a mirror, and you look at things, I mean, if you ever... I remember looking at my dad and looking at my dad in the mirror, and his nose in the mirror looked like it was bent slightly, and his hair was parted on the other side. But that's my dad, but no, that's the way he really looks. You know, cameras turn it around nowadays and so on, but kind of good, kind of weird. Then again, through lenses and effects, they've got it hooked up to a camera, and they take a picture of ancient time, and you can look at an ancient picture of something, and you're looking through the looking glass of time. Just like if you have a telescope and you're looking at a far distance you're about to head, you're looking ahead in time, because lo and behold, an hour later you've walked there or gotten there on a boat. Therefore, I saw ahead in time somewhat. It was all so magical at one time, wasn't it? But nowadays we've got so much technology, some of these things that would have just blown away the ancients. In fact, might have been some things that they knew that we never knew they knew, and were kept sacred. So sacred people died with it, and were refound later. And this might be one of them. It's one of those things that's on that shelf, though. It's not necessarily a patent thing. I can't find enough verifiers other than that, but I wanted to watch that show again, for it's been 20 something years. No, my God, it's been 40 years. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. Peace. Let me know what you thought.